Hello and welcome. Today we're working on how to do basic Excel charts and graphs so you can get started displaying data in Excel. Hello, my name's Jeff from Finally Learn, where I help you finally learn financial literacy and Excel stuff. So let's say we have data, and we're going to do data here. We're going to do data with a column chart, a bar chart, and a pie chart. We're going to use some functions here. So let's kind of set up the data really quickly, and I think this is going to be really helpful for you. So let's say we want to do the month, the region, the product, and the sales. So just a little setup and we'll start working on some graphs. One thing we want to do is let's do the text function. So the text function, I'm going to point to the date, which is a number. So this is June 8th, 2020. And I want it to come out as months. So I'm going to do double quote MMM. Doesn't have to be caps, MMM. Close the double quotes, close the parentheses. And what we'll have is it'll have June and then all the way down. I have about 2,000 data set here of about 2,000 transactions. So it goes to row 2005. So we want to do this in a quick way. So what I've done is I have date and I have month, region, product, and sales. Now, I'm going to do this because we're going to do a small little table based on this data set. I'm going to do a named range. So I'm going to highlight all the months here. And up here at the top left by the formula bar, I'm going to call this months. So now I have a named range for months. And it's going to highlight wherever I am. If I use that name instead of the range, I have a named range called months. So the region, do the same thing. I'm going to call this region. Highlight everything and call it region. So now I have a named range for months and now region. Do the same thing for product. So product is our next column and that is our named range, and we'll do one for sales. So highlight everything and then our sales. So I have 4 named ranges. If you ever want to look at what named ranges you have, you can go to the Formulas ribbon and then the Name Manager. I have 4 named ranges that I just did right now. Okay, so let's do the first one. Let's do a graph for a column chart and let's use some ifs. So I want to calculate here what is the total revenue for the month of May, June, July, and August. All we have over here, let's kind of look at our data set. If I select any cell in the table and I go to the data ribbon and I do filter, then I can see if I click on the month, then I only have August, July, June, and May. So let's do a simple little table and we'll do a graph based on that. So a little setup to get your a graph that's going to be really, really helpful. So let's do sum ifs. I want to count the total of, so sum ifs, it's the total of, now because I have named ranges, the sum of sales. Do you see how when I type in sales it gives me an array, my criteria range. I'm going to base it on the months, and I called it months as my named range. I'm going to point to May. So it looks like May has total revenue of $71,163. Now I'd like to do that for June, July, and August because these are absolute. Sales is an absolute address and so is months. Then I should be able to just copy it down. And there we have May, June, July, and August. Now, it's showing 0 for June. And I thought we had some June. So we have June, so it should have a number. Now watch, this is a 3-digit June. And we typed in 4-digit June. So if we change this to JUN and JUL, then what we have is we have total revenue then for the 3 months. So here's our table. That's helpful, but we want to do this as a chart. So I'm going to highlight this chart and I go to the Insert ribbon, and you can do recommended charts. I want to do a column chart. So this is a column chart. You can do it that way, or you can simply select go to column chart. Now the Excel default, a lot of times it's just blue. It kind of looks just like this. So let's do some editing to make it a little bit easier to read and try to spend some time making sure we understand what this shows us. Now, let's do, if we right click, if we select, left click here one time, it selects all this, the data points. So it's selecting the May, June, July, and August, and it has all this that is shown. But if we double click, then it's going to give us, instead of the formula builder that we had for data, it's going to give us the graph. So this is how we edit the graph. We can change the colors of the graph. We can vary the color by the point. We might say each point is different, and that's kind of the default there. If you go up here, Excel has lots of defaults you can look at. Sometimes I kind of get started with that, but sometimes it's easier to take away information a little bit. The border, I don't think we need a border, so we have no line around that. And so here we're going to do right click and let's do add data labels. And so it gives us the number. If we have the number, let's make it a little bit larger so we can see. You can change the font, you can change the number, you can make it bolder if you wanted to. Same thing with the May, June, July. Make it a little bit larger and make it bold. Now, we don't have to have these lines, so let's delete the lines, and we don't have to have this legend at the left. So it's already starting to look a little better. And one thing we want to do is the gap width is pretty large, so let's select the Format Data Series. The gap width is 219%. Let me show you what we do if we do 50, and you can select however you want to. So now we have the data is a little bit wider, the label looks appropriate for this, and so we're going to call this something like revenue per month or whatever. So we can say total revenue per month. How about that? We can make this larger. This looks like it's gray maybe. So let's go to the, we can make this a larger font. So let me make it 24 maybe. And we can make it where it is black, and we can make it bold. And one last thing I think I would do is let's get rid of the border around. So if we select this, we can fill, if we want to fill, a shading behind it or whatever, we certainly could do that. We can make it, yellow. Well, that's really hard to read and kind of hurts your eyes. So we don't want the fill, but we might want a no line around the border. So what we have is something really clean. We have taken the default and edited some things out and put some things in. That's a real readable graph. So that is a column graph, and we're using some. So that's our first one. Now, here's what I would do as a little trick. I would not do this for the bar and the pie. I would do a right click, move or copy, and move it right in front of the well ink, the next one, create a copy. And so we can label that first one, we can label it something like revenue per month. And the next one we can label it, we're going to do average revenue per product or something. So I'll do average revenue per product. Okay, so our format's going to be a little different, so let's call this average revenue, and then instead of month, let's do product. And what are our products? So let's go back to our original data set and let's look at our products. And I think we only have a few, Hotel, Indigo, Juliet, Kilo, and Lima. So we can just type those in if we wanted to. So let's do that real quickly. So we're going to call it product and Hotel, Indigo, Juliet, Kilo, and I think the last one is Lima. All right, so we're going to do the average revenue. So we're going to do average ifs, and we're going to do product. Okay, so let's open this up. So average ifs that we're going to search for, we need three things. We need the average range. So the average range is going to be the sales, and the criteria is going to be based on product. And then the criteria, we're going to point to the product hotel name. So this is 178, and let's make it to 2 decimals maybe. And then we can copy this down. Now, because we have, now on this one we'll do copy and then paste. And we have 4 of them, not 5. So what we need to do is go back, and do you see we already have the format that we like, and so you don't have to format everything. If you do it the way we're doing it, we can select data, and so the average revenue, we want to have the axis labels. We're going to go to A10, so we can edit this and put A10 if we wanted to. And the Y values, let's go to the end. So what we have is, let me try it again. So select data. The Y values are going to be these right there. And the axis labels are going to be hotel through Lima. Let's hit OK. And now we have, I think this is perfect. We have our column, but we want to make it bar. So all we have to do is change the type, but it's already formatted. That's pretty nice. So we'll right click, change the chart type from column to bar. And there we have, there is Lima, Kilo, Juliet, Indigo Hotel. We don't have to spend time formatting because we've already formatted the revenue per month. Now, one thing we could do is we could sort it by the average revenue. So let's go to highlight all that, and we'll go to data and then filter. And then we'll filter by average revenue, and we can do ascending, and we'll do 164, 170, all the way to 195. And then Juliet is shown first here, Indigo, so you can see, hey, this 195 is larger than the 164, and you can see this is the largest revenue that we have, the average revenue. So we need to change this, and we'll call this average revenue per product. So our average revenue per product, and we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products. Okay, we're going to do the next one where we're going to do a pie chart, and let's do it maybe by region. Let's do region. We'll do count ifs. We could do dollar amounts, but let me show you how to do count ifs on this. So let's go back to, we had 4, so it's going to be easy if we copy this revenue per month. So let's do move or copy, and before the well, let's create a copy, hit OK. So now we're going to call this the number of sales by let's do region. Okay, so we haven't done that one yet. So this is the number of sales by region. So we're going to have the region, and then the total sales, not by dollars, but by count. So this is number of sales. How about that? So this is going to be a number that we keep up with. So it's going to be count ifs. So let's get rid of these right here. And we'll say it's something like north, south, east, and west. Okay, let me check our data set. I didn't show you how that works. So our region is east, north, south, west. That's in alphabetical order. I just did it in any order that I thought of. We can certainly sort if we want to. So let's do the count. How many sales do we make in the north and the south and east and west? So this is going to be a count function. So we'll do count ifs. So our count ifs, and all we need is we want to count the criteria range, which is region. We typed in the formula name, or the named range is region, and the criteria we're going to point to north. So apparently we have 500, and this is not a dollar amount. This is just a a number here, so we have 500. And if we copy it down, copy, and then paste, well, we had exactly, because I have a made-up data set, and I have exactly north, south, east, west, 500, 500, 500. Maybe not very interesting, but we can do this as a pie chart. So we have everything set up. So we can right-click, change chart type to pie. So here's our pie chart, and we can do this by percentages if we wanted to. So we can do the label options, percentage, rather than the value. So this is a perfect 1/4 pie, and we would call this the by region. We might want to have on this one, we might want to have a label here. We don't have the label going here. So category name would be West, 25%, and so on. And so we would call this sales, it's the number of sales, sales like transactions by region. So what we have 3 different ways, and I got to spell region correctly, I guess. So with an N. So what we have for this first data set, that's a big data set, we have revenues per month, we have average revenue per product. That the first one is a column chart or column graph. The second one is a bar because it's horizontal, and the third by region is a pie chart. Okay, so we started out with our first 3, column, bar, and pie. So let's keep going. Let's do 2 that are a clustered column and a stacked column, and you can kind of see how it works. So let's say we have a little company, Well Inc., and we have 3 different divisions, and we want to figure out the total or whatever. So one thing we can do is highlight all this, and we can use a keyboard shortcut. We can go to Auto Sum up here and hit the Auto Sum, or we can highlight everything and use a keyboard shortcut. For Mac, it's Command-Shift-T. And for Windows, it is Alt equals. And now you have the sum, and you can easily get the sum for a big table, and this really does help out a lot, really fast. So let's do highlight just the data. Don't highlight the totals, either the bottom totals or the totals on the right. So we're going to have month, electronics, grocery, home, and then October, November, December. So let's go to Insert. And let's look at the recommended charts. We want to do a clustered, and this is called a clustered column. And what we have, this is a clustered column. Let me get rid of this on the right. And you'll see, and I'm not going to edit this much on this one. We can just call this, sales by category. And obviously you have months here. So if you highlight all this, then Excel's pretty smart about how to handle the data. It gives you the blue would be electronics, the orange would be grocery, and then the gray would be home. And you can see this is how it is for October, for November, and December, and you can kind of compare, and it makes it easy to do. Now, one thing you can do is you have chart design. You can do all sorts of different things. So let's just pick one of the chart designs. I think this is pretty helpful. This might be an easy way to read this because it has the numbers and it has the formatting here. This is not a bad way to read it. So kind of play around with, see if it's helpful to read the graph based on, some of their templates. The templates are getting better. Sometimes they're kind of ugly. You might want to change from the blue and the orange and gray and different colors. You can easily do that, and that'll make it more readable. You might change it to your company colors, right? Your company colors, your logo has a red in it and a yellow in it. Then you could certainly do that. Okay, so that's a clustered column. the data is clustered by October and November and so on. Well, we can do the same kind of thing. In fact, let's copy this. Let's copy and let's do a paste. So I've got another sales by category. So I'm just going to scroll down and put this, I'm going to move it because I might need to work with it. I'm going to do a right click, change the chart type, and I'm going to make this a stacked column. And now you see the stacked column. We have all of October in one stack. We have the grocery, you have electronics, and you have the home. So you can see the totals. Let's see if we can change it and make it a little more easy to read. Yeah, I think that's easier to read. You might want to use that number as white or whatever. Let's see how this works. If we change that to white, that's easier to read in that, and you can easily see the totals. You can see the totals and each individual component for electronics, grocery, and home. So this is the clustered column that's together, and then this is the stacked column. So that's another chart type. Now our next chart type, let's just do a little line chart. And so let's highlight, we have years and we have sales. So this is annual sales. So let's do insert and let's do a recommended chart. And we're going to do a line chart. So this is a line chart. You can do a scatter, it looks very similar, but let's do a line chart here. So here's our line chart. Let's make it bigger so we can read it. Now, if we right click, if we left click on the line, and we right click and we add data labels, then it's going to add the $1 million numbers, and we'll try to figure out a way we can look at it. So let's double click so we can get the format data label. Go back and click out of it and click on this so we have them all shown. Let's do the label position above, makes it easier to read, above the line. Now, we don't need all the individual numbers, so let's have a way where we can do this, where we reduce the total numbers here, and where we have it by millions or whatever. So let's go down here. We've selected all the numbers, and we can do a custom formatting. And the custom formatting, here's what we're going to type in. I need to put in a $sign, and I'm going to do 0.0 because I want it to show like 1.7 million. I need to put 2 commas in, and then I'm going to put in double quotes and M for millions and double quote. And let's try to add that. So what we have is, it's going to show not 1,743,000 like this number. It's going to show 1.7 million, and that's good enough. You don't have to have all the decimals. Now, if you want one more decimal, you could certainly do that. You could add a 0 here and do add. That might be a little bit better for you. 1.74 million versus 1.86 million, 1.96 and 1.96. They're not quite the same number, but virtually the same. And then we can clean it up, get rid of some of these things, these extra lines. We can make these bigger, bolder, things like that. That'd be completely fine. And this is certainly sales or revenue per year. The good thing about this, you can see that we have a trend over time. We went up a little bit, and we kind of flatlined, we went up some more. So you can see the trend over time, and you can modify this a little bit, however you want to do it. If you make it, it doesn't have to be so tall. You can make it where it is, more horizontal, and then the trend doesn't look as much. If you make it a taller chart, then the trend looks a little steeper. So it just depends on your chart size. All right, a couple more here. Let's do one that's a scatter plot. So here is, we assumed hours worked and total cost. And let's highlight all this, and we're going to insert. And the chart, we want it to be scatter plot. Here is a scatter plot, that's fine. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger here. And then if we left click on one of the data points, it's going to select them all. and we want to show an entire line here. We're going to right click and add a trend line. So this trend line is going to be the line that is going to be essentially the equation. So we want to display an equation and display an r squared. And so let's highlight this, move it, and make it a little bit bigger. I think what I have to do on this one, yes, I'm going to have to change the font. So just make the font bigger. It'll make that box bigger. So you can see, hey, here's our formula. So that we have essentially run a regression that says, hey, here's our total cost based on the hours worked. So I'm going to label this something like hours worked versus total cost. And we think, see, our idea here is we think that hours worked drives our cost. So let's make it easy to see here. Make it bold. And now we have an easy number we can see. We can see over time that if we work more hours, here's the hours worked on the bottom, and then the total cost. The more hours we work, the cost goes up. And this formula explains about 61% of the variability we see in the data. So that's a scatter plot. All right, the very last one, let's do one that is a map. The kind of cool thing, one of the things you can do in Excel 365 is you can do a map. So let's highlight the states here and the revenue. Let's insert, let's try recommended charts. Okay, here we go. We can do the field map. Let me show you how it works with a field map. We're going to click on it, the field map, and it's going to show, hey, we know this is the United States, so it's going to show lots of things going on in the United States. But if we want to show it where it's just the data, so if we right click, we can, let's see how this works. Format data series maybe. Let's check. So the map projection, several different ways to do it. We'll just do automatic. The map area, we're going to only show regions with data. So that will show then, here are the states that are listed. And we right click, we're going to add data labels. And it's going to put in numbers. And we need to make those numbers bigger so you can read them. And some of them are really hard to read, so you might want to go back and make these where they're all maybe white or something like that. So then as it colors it in, you can see that number. Now, the bigger the number, the darker the saturation of the color. You can change colors, you can do all sorts of things. But this is how you set up a basic chart by state. You can do it by country, and the chart title then, something like sales by state. So that's how you do basic formatting with different states and different maps, all the different charts and all the different tables. Let's make this a little bit larger. And now you're getting to be an expert on how to do Excel charts and graphs. Hey, thanks for watching.